Hey everyone. So for today's video I've got another model kit that I've started, and it's the last one that I want to get finished that I've already started. So I have done most of the painting and I'll explain how I've done that, and then in subsequent videos you'll see the process of the painting. So you'll have to forgive me, I've already painted this one, but I'll talk you through it. Like I said, in coming videos, you'll see the whole process. Okay, so you can sort of see this will be a pretty short video because I've done some of the assembly. Although to be fair, this I found is not a super complicated kit. So it's probably not going to take as long as some others to build anyway. It's been a very fun kit so far to build. And you can see I've done just some of the chassis and driveline and interior, and I've painted the body. So I'll show you a bit of this as we go through it. So the next thing I've got to do is attach the rear driveline. It's going to go through here, but I'll have to do it off camera because it's going to come basically through these grooves and attach to the back of the transmission. So you can see I've got that in there now. Something I've noticed is both, and I hope it's this way when the model's still completed, you can adjust the height of the suspension and the camber. Which I think is going to be pretty cool because this is a mini truck. Alright, on to the next step. Okay, so the next step was the interior. It's quite funny because I own, like, this is a Hilux, but I own in my driveway a Toyota 4Runner, a 1994 model. And that interior looks, except for the steering wheel, looks very close to my 4Runner. So they've done a good job with this one. Now, to do this, all I've done is I've primed the parts with Tamiya surface primer. And then I've painted them grey, but I've only painted some of it with Tamiya grey. And I've left some of it in the primer because I think the two-tone looks kind of nice. And being a mini truck, these things were, well, they basically all had custom interiors anyway. So I think it's a nice balance. Could probably paint the center of the steering wheel black, but I think it looks alright as is. Looks good. For the underside, I've just again used a rattle can. It's Tamiya black. So they do like a matte black and a semi-gloss black and a black, and their black by default is kind of like a gloss. So if you don't like the gloss, go for the matte black or the semi-gloss. But I've painted the underside of this because it's going to be visible through the chassis. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to scuff it up at all. It's a mini truck, so it would be being coddled, I think. They're usually meticulously detailed. So the next thing I've got to do is on the bottom of the cabin, there's these 4 positioning holes which go onto here. So I've got to, that's the next step, is I've got to get the cabin onto the chassis, and because I've painted it, I'll just have to scrape back some of that paint so that I get a good contact surface for the glue. So I'll do that now and be back. So I've got the cab on, well, the interior of it anyway. Probably need to touch up there where it joins the transmission, but I'll wait till the end to do that. So in case you haven't noticed, you don't actually build the engine of this vehicle. The cab, the bonnet or the hood doesn't open, which is kind of nice because it's quite a quick, fun build. I think the highlight of a little truck like this is the suspension and that sort of thing, so I don't think too many people are going to be worried about whether or not you get to build the engine for it. So far I'm really enjoying this build. It's a really nice kit. Everything's gone together beautifully. So I'm gluing in the rear view mirror, and I thought I'd mention where a lot of people go wrong and ruin a model is with the glass, because when they put the glue on and sandwich the glue between the roof and the glass, it actually spills out and comes down the windows. So to avoid getting glue on the glass, I've actually held the plastic piece up inside the glass, and I've come from as far away from that leading edge on the window, so I've applied the glue from this side and just kind of poked it along just till it touched. You won't be able to see it, but there's a little plastic pin coming through just so that it touched it, so that when I put the glass in, there's no risk of there being enough glue close enough to the edge that it will spill out and be visible. So it's the same story here. Now that I'm going to be putting the glass into the vehicle, I won't run glue along the edge. I'll actually just set the glass in, and then I'll kind of put a dot of glue like here, and you'll watch and it'll actually race under the glass. So don't put a lot, because it'll go through to the paint, and once it gets on the paint, it'll dissolve your paint job. So don't put, well, my advice, or what I do, you might do it a different way that works better, but I don't run a bead of glue and then squash it. I put the glass in with no glue, and I just start touching little droplets along, and you'll see a little bit will sink under, and that way you don't have that sandwich effect of pushing a bunch of glue out and it looks okay, and then you flip it over and it's all over your paintwork. Okay, so progress update. The glass is in. You can see no leaks around the edges. Something else I've decided to do is just wash out the inside of the grille with accent, so the panel liner, just to make it darker, but it actually calls for the bottom element of the bumper to be black and inside, and I think this looks good as is, and I'm happy with it, so it's staying like that. I've got the lights in. Now something else you might notice is for this one, you can actually see the gaps in the doors and all that sort of thing. Now I've used panel liner for that, which probably isn't what it's intended for, but, or maybe it is, but it worked well. And that was just an experiment I did to see how that would come out. And it's come out nicely. It ran along pretty well and just picked out a lot of the details. Wouldn't be me if I didn't test fit things to see how they're going to look. I think it should look good over those rims too. That colour. Anyway, I've got to get the lights on the back of this and then I'll update you. So while the cab dries, the next step is to work on the bed of the truck or the tray, and you get quite a few options with this. Now I've assembled part of this, so this comes in a few pieces, and as I said, it's already been painted. I've painted it and I'm happy with how it come out. I think it's come out nicely. It's probably not visible to the camera, but it's kind of like a pearly white silver. And that was just out of a Tamiya rattle can again, and applied on top of Tamiya primer. So you get a number of options with how to do this, and what you'll quickly figure out watching my channel is I don't always follow the instructions, so I'll often leave out certain things, and that's, I guess, when you're building a model, that's part of the fun of it, is doing it your way. And something on a little truck like this that I may do is I may or may not put the side mirrors on it, because where I grew up, they were often shaved off the car just to make it look cleaner. And I'm sort of building this as I remember them from when I was in high school, because these things were really popular and they never had the side mirrors on them and that sort of thing. So I'm going to possibly leave them off. The other thing is you get the option to put the compressor tanks in, and I may leave them out of this kit because I want to use them on an Impala lowrider type kit, and I never saw them in these trucks when I was in high school, even though you do have the option of putting them in. But I'd like this to look pretty close to how I remember them. So that gives you an idea of the tanks. They're really beautiful. And I'll definitely be using them, but I just may not use them on this kit because I have a plan for them. Okay, so I've got the rear lights or light covers in front of me here, and what it calls for is painting them. And it wants the, so they're in three, sorry, I'm filming with one hand. They're in three sections. So on my Forerunner, which is, I imagine, the same lights here, I've got orange for the top bit, clear in the middle for the reverse light, and then red for the brake light, the bigger bit at the base. Now, you don't, as far as I understand, you don't paint the outside, you paint the inside. And it looks like it may help us because it's got these raised sort of edges that will hopefully contain the paint. Now, I use a special type of thing for this, which are these Tamiya clear orange and clear reds. So that's what I use. They're kind of a different sort of thing. I'll apply them and check back. Make sure you shake these up because they settle. So just something like that. I had to apply it twice to get coverage because it's sort of semi-translucent. You build up layers. I'll just give that a little bit of time to dry now, because when I glue it onto the back of the tailgate, I don't think oxygen will get through the glue, and they need to dry before that. I'm pretty happy with that. So just to show you the suspension side of it, I showed you the front, how you can do the camber and the ride height. In the rear you cannot do the camber, but you can adjust the height of the vehicle using this sort of clip thing that, see that? So you can tweak it. It rotates, so you can adjust the height that way. So in the final steps of this, there's this piece that basically plugs into the chassis, and then that clips in, and the two prongs go in here. So even though I can see these holes here, these four little ones, which seem to line up with here and here, obviously, I don't believe they're meant to be glued from what I can understand in the instructions, because then the tub can't do that. So what I'm going to do is just connect this to here. That rotates in that black grip, and I will glue this in here. It was a bit of a snug fit, I think, because I painted the I think possibly it changed the clearances on the holes a bit, so I just had to clean it up a little bit so that it would push in, but it's a nice tight fit, and I'll go ahead and get it clipped on. So I've just put a touch of glue right up at those two frontmost black tips where they meet the plastic, and I don't know if that focuses, but anyway, the two front little black nibs where they sit on that grey plastic, just to keep it glued down, and just make sure the car is straight. The chassis is actually straight under the body before you do that. Oh, sorry, I don't have a fancier display stand for you. See if I can get a few angles for you to show you the suspension. So that's with it up nice and high. That's probably where the suspension was for the guys I went to high school with when they were going for their roadworthy certificates. You know, they'd probably look something like that. You all know how that seems to go. Like I said, I didn't put all the compressors and stuff in. You could, but I've got other plans for them. And I've also left the mirrors shaved. I did paint them, but then I decided not to put them on. That's with the camber adjustment on the front. So as I said, I built it, you know, probably a bit different to the instructions. I'm happy with that interior. But yeah, I mean, you can see I've done it a bit different. not used everything they've given me, but I'm happy with it. And yeah, it was a fun build. It does come with a a tub cover. I haven't put it on. I'll just pause the camera and see if I can actually get that on and show you. So what I would do, I've gone to put it on a bit late in the game, and because there's these pins that go in behind those little square covers and it rotates on them, I would actually, if I was going to keep that on or build it for a tub cover, is I'd follow the instructions and you know, bring the sides together so that you're not wrestling it in after you've glued the box together or glued the tub together. You can lower it basically all the way to the ground from what I could see. Or it's a bit hard with one hand, but you get the idea. You can just flex everything and lower it all the way down. I love that tub. I love how the tub can do that. Anyway, I had heaps of fun building this, and hopefully someone enjoyed watching it. This is an awesome kit. You might want to build it using all the parts. I'm pretty atypical with how I build things. Yeah, I'll be uploading more videos soon, and I just wanted to finish these two videos off that I've just done, where I had two kits that I'd already painted, this being one of them and the Chevelle I've just uploaded being the other. But in coming videos I'll show you end-to-end builds with new kits, so you'll get to see some of the painting. Alright, thanks for watching, see ya.